Dear brothers and sisters, this is a homily for 4th Sunday of Lent, year C, 2022. This Sunday is also called Laetare Sunday, meaning rejoice. On this Laetare Sunday, we rejoice because first, the invitory antiphon begins with Rejoice Jerusalem, and secondly, because we are halfway to Easter celebrations. On this Sunday also, we have the second scrutiny of catechumens. Moreover, the parable in the Gospel passage reminds us to rejoice because the young son who was lost and is found. What makes us to be lost as Christians today? What does this parable of prodigal son teach us today? In the first reading, we find the message of reconciliation and forgiveness. The people of Israel arrived in the promised land not because they were the best, but because of the love, mercy, and forgiveness of God. On the other hand, the second reading brings out the realization of reconciliation between God and man, since man was lost due to original sin. In the Gospel passage from St. Luke, we read a parable that is found only in St. Luke's Gospel, which is about the prodigal son. Even though it would be appropriate to title it the merciful father, because the father is the center through which the two sons originates and returns. Anyway, that is a topic for another day. Before all else, here are a couple of questions concerning this parable. To whom does Christ address this parable to, and for what reason? First and foremost, this parable is addressed to the Pharisees and the scribes. In fact, Christ was responding to the Pharisees and the scribes who were accusing him of mingling and interacting with the tax collectors and sinners. It is in this context that he responds by citing three parables, namely the lost sheep, the lost coin, and lastly the parable of the prodigal son. Therefore, the real reasons would be that Christ interacted with saints and sinners because God's love and mercy is unconditional. On the other hand, the action of asking for his part of inheritance, the young son reveals the relationship that exists in this family. Of course, he asked for inheritance, of which the father gave him immediately. But one may ask, why did the father give to his young son a fish rather than showing him how to fish? Reasoning from this point of view, just from the start, the young man was lost, but the father respected the freedom of his two sons unconditionally. Indeed, there are two main lessons that we can learn from these parables. One, the merciful and loving father. Second, conversion to experience this love. Let us begin with the merciful and loving father. This is shown by the father who comes out 2 times to meet his two sons. First, he perceives his young son from afar and had compassion towards him, ran towards him and embraced him. These 4 gestures show the compassion and love of the father towards the lost son who came back in the worse state than he left. The father in this parable didn't complain or condemn the young son, but he clothed him and made a celebration for him. Secondly, in the course of the celebration, the father goes out to welcome the elder son who had not come back. The elder son was disappointed by the attitude of welcoming the lost son, who squandered his inheritance, and now with nothing he shows up. The elder son seems to be lost also with this attitude and jealousy towards his young brother, but the father addresses him as my son. The elder son sees his father as a master, himself as a good person who obeyed all the laws from his father, but now no reward. Isn't this the attitude of Pharisees and scribes? The elder son perfectly represents the Pharisees and the scribes in this passage, whereas the young son represents the sinners and the tax collectors who seek God's forgiveness. Which attitude do you have towards God? Let us look at the second lesson, which is conversion to experience love. Like the elder son, many Christians think that conversion is to be good and to obey the commandments, etc. But that is just part of it. True conversion is to experience the love, the mercy, the care, and the forgiveness of God. This aspect is represented by the young son who, because of hunger, he came back to his senses and returned to his father's house. Today, how many people have left their rural homes to live in town, even in slums or in unbearable conditions, in the name of working, but they have learned at home to cultivate and live in a better way. First and foremost, we were lost right from the Garden of Eden after our ancestors sinned, but God is so loving, He sent us His Son so as to reconcile us and forgive us our sins. Even more importantly, the love of the Father in this parable mirrors the unconditional love that God has towards us. To conclude, in our world today, in one way or another, we have been prodigal sons and daughters, ungrateful and selfish. We are lost. We may have squandered the gifts that God gave us. We may have abused our freedom. We may have broken His laws and therefore descended to the level of swine way of life. However, He is not only waiting for us to return to Him, but He sends out His messengers to recall us through this Lenten period and also to help us to return to Him. Amen. Have a blessed Sunday.